Okay, so yesterday what we discussed was, you can say, pre-project activities. So we wanted to clear some confusion with respect to what a BA might not have to do. Okay, now it does not mean, and we also mentioned that it does not in any way represent that BA will not work on identifying new opportunities at all. Okay, but what BA will not do is actively seek out new clients. Okay, for existing clients, BA will definitely try to maintain good relationship, good rapport, so that we can get more work out of existing clients. Okay, now what we will do is, with this pre-project activities out, today what we will do is we will be discussing about what happens when a project is finalized. So yesterday we said pre-project activities, sales and marketing team actively engages themselves with the client, tries to identify the problem that the client is facing through RFI, request for information. Then they create a proposal, RFP, and then after proposal the quotation part, and then finally a contract is signed between the client and the IT company, that is referred to as SOW, or statement of work. Now that the work is with the IT delivery team, okay, so let's start focusing about some of the commonly used terms in the IT industry, so as to build our basics for it. Now, the first term is statement of work. Okay, this is nothing but the SOW that we were talking about yesterday. That once client and the IT company comes to a conclusion, comes to an agreement, they will actually have a legal document which will try to list down what all activities or the work that needs to be performed. Okay, so that will be your statement of work, or SOW. The second thing that you will keep hearing is scope. What is scope? Scope is actually the boundaries of the product. Now, remember, guys, in IT, people often use these words interchangeably, okay? Like product, software, or application. Okay? They use these words interchangeably. Now, scope, we said, is defining boundaries for our product. Okay, why it is important? Because we don't want to get into an infinite loop. Okay, suppose you build a washing machine, you create a boundary for that washing machine. What is that boundary? That it can be used to wash clothes. Can a washing machine be used to wash your mobile phones or laptops? No, absolutely not. Why? Because that's the scope of washing machine. It will be used to wash only the dirty clothes alone. Then we have dishwasher. So dishwasher scope will be to wash all the soiled plates. Okay. So for all these items that we have, for all these products that we have, there will be a boundary within which they will operate. If there is no boundary, customers will have infinite expectations and your product will never be complete. Okay, because there is no limitation to thought process. You will say my washing machine should wash clothes, my washing machine should wash books as well, it should wash laptop as well. There will be no end to this thought process, and you will never be able to create all in one washing machine. So what people did is they limited their thought process. They defined a scope, or they created a boundary, that this is the boundary within which my product has to perform. Okay. So any software that you work upon, any software that you will be creating in your upcoming tenures, there is always going to be a scope or a boundary. Okay, so that once we know the scope, we know what product we have to design. If there is no scope, there will be infinite thoughts, and it will be difficult to create a software with infinite thoughts. Okay? So the boundaries or limitations are represented through the word scope. Okay? Scope will define boundaries of the product. Now, for example, I can say scope will be online payments with UPI. So what it means is, when it comes to UPI, my application will allow. If you want to make payments via credit card, debit card, net banking, my application will not allow. Why? Because the scope of my application says online payments with UPI. Okay. Then the next term is change request or change requirement. Okay. Now this is often used in two contexts. One is, I have an existing product and then I want to enhance that product. I want to add features to that product. Taking that payment example, suppose currently my application is only allowing payments with UPI. I want to add credit card also to it. Okay, that now along with UPI, allow credit card payments as well, or allow payment through credit card as well. Okay, so that will be captured as a change request. Okay? That I have an existing software, existing application, or existing product, I want to add more features to it. Okay, that is your change request. Change requirement is often used Change requirement is often used when I have already given a requirement, like in this case, allow payments through credit cards. I have already given this requirement. BA has captured the requirement. Now team is writing code. Now, while team is writing code, the client decided that, you know what, this payment through credit card, it does not make sense. Let me change it to payment through debit card. Okay? So usually change in requirement during the development stage. Once the team has started working on building a software, and then you make changes to it. So that will be your change requirement. Okay, understood? Normally, people may often use these change request or change requirement interchangeably, but what I prefer is, if you are talking about change request, okay, that means you have an existing product and you want to add more features into it, or you want to modify an existing feature into it. That will be your change request. Change requirement will be when you have not when you are working on something, and while you are working on something, client decides to change the requirement itself. Okay, so that will be your change requirement. Both are often abbreviated as CR. So in IT industry, you'll keep hearing people talking about, hey, did you complete that CR? Okay. What's the status of that CR? How much has it progressed? Okay, so that CR usually stands for change request. Now, IT companies and client, they interact with each other through these CRs only. That if client wants some change in the software, they will raise a change request. They will raise a CR that I want some changes in the software. You can have verbal discussions. I can tell you verbally, go and make these changes in the software, but that does not make sense. Okay? Tomorrow, if anyone asks me, why did you make change? Then I will not have any uh, documented substance to say why this change was made and what benefit this change offers. Okay. Next is elicitation. So what is elicitation? Elicitation in general is a list of techniques or methods that a business analyst will use while talking to clients to draw out information emotions, opinion, or knowledge from the client. Okay, so client has certain knowledge, certain idea or opinion inside their head. Okay, I will use appropriate methods or techniques to extract that information, whatever is present in my client's head. Okay, that entire process is referred to as elicitation. Now, often you will see these terms being used extensively during interview time. When I am working, probably realistically speaking, when I am working, no one will ask me, hey Rahul, what elicitation technique will you use to extract information from the client? Okay, all people will be worried about is, hey, did you get information from the client or not? Done. No one will ask me, did you use elicitation technique? What elicitation technique will you use? This is good to know that what all techniques you have more extensively asked in the interviews. But as a BA, you must understand what are different techniques that are present at your disposal. Some of the popular techniques are document analysis, interview, brainstorming, JAD. Okay. Now remember, at this point in time, we are only trying to understand these terms. Okay, what these terms mean. In the upcoming classes, we will go in detail about these different methods available within these terms, like requirement elicitation. Okay, so requirement elicitation will comprise of list of methods or techniques that business analyst can use to extract information, emotion, knowledge, opinion, whatever you say, from the client. Okay, the next term is business rules. Okay, sometimes they can often be abbreviated as BR, but in general, in my practice so far, I have not seen people abbreviating business rules as BR, so that's why I did not mention it, but there's no harm in abbreviating it. Okay, so what exactly is this business rule? So business rules are basically collection of your policies, procedures, or guidelines that will decide how a business operation should be performed. Okay, for example, okay, suppose I want a user to enter their date of birth. Okay, now there are different ways to represent date of birth. Okay, people can write it in this format, people can write it in this format. Okay, you can replace forward slash with hyphens, you can replace forward slash with dots as well. You know, there could be different combination of writing your date of birth. But what happens is, in order to create consistency, in order to maintain uniformity, what I will do is, I will tell users that you should enter date only in this format. So in order to maintain consistency and uniformity, I'll display this format and ask users or request users to enter date only in this format. Okay. Now what I just did is, I created a business rule actually for entering date of birth. Okay. My client would have come to me and told that, my software should capture the date of birth of my customers. But that's a very vague statement. A date of birth could be entered in different formats. So what I just did is, I created a rule, business rule on how date of birth should be captured. Similarly, I can create a rule on how phone numbers could be captured, address could be captured. Okay. So what these business rules are doing is, they help us simplify by creating policies, procedures, or frameworks which will decide how an operation will be performed. Okay. Similarly, when it comes to payments as well, you would see often that how the payment should be performed. When I am using credit cards, maybe the maximum number of digits allowed in credit card should be 16. So user should not be allowed to enter anything more than 16 numbers. I can create a rule for phone numbers as well. Phone numbers in India as of now are maximum of 10 digits. So I should not allow anyone to enter anything more than 10 digits. At the same time, I should not allow anyone to enter anything less than 10 digits. Okay. When I'm asking for phone number, user should enter exact 10 digits. Okay. So now what I am doing is I am creating business rules to do or perform an action. Okay. Now when we write down requirements in the upcoming classes, we will write down requirements using business rules. So you will have a better picture of how a business rule is tied to a requirement. Okay. The next is environments or regions. Okay, so what exactly is this environment or region? So in order to perform parallel development, IT companies they utilize something called as environment or region. Popularly, there will be a development region or development environment. There will be a QA region or QA environment. There will be a UAT region or UAT environment. Then pre-production and production. Okay. Now pre-production is something that again may or may not be present, but popularly you will at least have dev environment or development, QA environment, and production environment. Okay. Now depending on the IT company, how better their processes are, how streamlined their work is, they may have more or less environments. But what exactly these environments are helping the IT companies to? So let's say you have a product, okay, a software. Take for example WhatsApp. Okay, suppose WhatsApp is as of now having options of text messages, video messages, but let's say in future WhatsApp wants to allow you image scanning also. For example, you can take a photo of something and then you can highlight certain portion of the photo and then ask WhatsApp that you know what this portion of the photo that I highlighted means. Okay. Now WhatsApp is a product that is being actively used by billions of people. Now imagine if I am adding new features in WhatsApp and people are simultaneously using WhatsApp. Okay, and I make one mistake while adding new features and it will impact all those billion people around. So what companies do is they don't touch the actual product. Okay, so actual product is not touched. So what they do is they create a clone of the product. Okay, and then the clone of the product is modified. Okay. This clone of the product is modified as per whatever client wants. New features are added, changes are made, and then this modified feature is tested. Okay. So modifications are done, then testing is done. Once everything looks okay, once everything looks okay, then what we do is we go and merge changes to the original product. Okay, so that way what happens is I'm not actually touching the original product. People are not getting impacted. I am doing all this activity parallelly. Once I am 100% sure that everything looks good, then what I do is I merge changes to the original product. so that way my impact to the customer is minimum. If I see anything going wrong in merge process, I will simply revert the merge process. Then also there is no impact to the customer. And if everything goes successful, then customers will have access to new feature of image scanning. Okay, so that is where the concept of regions came into picture. We usually create a clone of the product in dev region. Okay, and development region is where developers will modify the code. QA region is where my testing team will be doing the testing of the product. Okay, so that is the concept of these environments or regions. They create some parallel environments similar to our actual product, so that we don't have to disturb our actual product. We can work parallelly without disturbing anyone. Okay, so that is where these environments or regions come into picture. Now, why I'm talking about these environments? Will it be used by BA? No. But what happens is, uh, you will always have the developers, the QA talking about it. For example, if you ask developers, is the coding complete? They may say that, it is still in dev region or dev environment. If you ask QA, hey, have you started testing the changes? They may say that, that the code is still not in QA region, so how can I test it? Then if they say the code is not in QA region, what you do? You go back to developer and ask them why the code is not in QA region. You said coding is complete, so move it to QA region so testing can begin. Okay, so people will often be using as a BA. Will you be using these environments? You may not. Okay, sometimes for particularly during UAT, user acceptance testing, you yourself may log into the region and see how the new features look like. Okay, or the client can log into UAT region and see how the new feature looks like. Okay, so as a business analyst, eventually I need to review how the product looks like after making the changes. It is not as if I will simply give requirements to developer will make changes, tester will do the testing, and then done. No. So what happens is, once developer says coding is complete, tester says testing is complete, then as a BA, it is my duty to go and review how the product looks like after changes. So usually I can do it in QA region or I can do it in UAT region. Okay, but I will usually try to do it in QA region as early as possible, how the product looks like after changes, so that if there is any feedback I can give to the developers that I looked at the product and you know what, I think more changes need to be done. Okay, next is that we keep hearing estimations. Okay? So estimations are nothing but basically giving an approximate value to the work. Okay, how much time are you going to take to do a particular work? Normally estimations are measured in terms of hours. So if I give you a work, usually I want you to estimate the work first. Okay, so in IT industry, everything starts with estimation and then the tracking starts with estimation. So if I give you a work, the first thing I will expect is, what's the estimation for it? How much time are you going to take it? The clients will ask for it. If they give you a work, they will ask how much time will you take to complete this work? If you give a requirement to developer, you will ask how much time will you take for coding? You will ask tester how much time will you take for testing? Okay. Even when you are given work, the client will ask or the project manager will ask you how much time are you going to take to complete the requirements. Okay. So that is all represented through estimations. Okay. Estimations comprises of techniques used to measure the work. The most popular way of measuring the work is in terms of hours. How many hours are you going to take to do a work? 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours. And that's how you streamline or you demonstrate professionalism. The first time you get the work, you assess what the work is, how difficult, how easy it is, how much time are you going to take in order to finish up the work, and then you put forward the estimation that I am going to take 20 hours to do this work. So that now people will wait for those 20 hours to see the work to completion. Okay. Now estimations must be logical. They cannot come out of thin air. You cannot just simply think of 20 hours and then say, okay, I'll take 20 hours. If you say 20 hours, you must be able to justify why 20 hours. Why not 10 hours? Why not 30 hours? Why only 20 hours? Okay. So estimations must be justifiable as well. Now I'll take pause over here and see if there are any questions. Well, I'll take the silence as no questions. We'll move forward. The next is we have bunch of people over here. Okay. So for example, stakeholders, SMEs, consultants, technical architects, development lead, test lead. So we will talk about these people first and then we will get to change management and defect, bug or issue thing. Okay. Now as a BA or business analyst, obviously you'll be interacting with variety of people. So I'm not focusing on the term BA now, but let's take stakeholders for example. Now till yesterday or even today as well, I kept using the word client. Okay. Particularly when you start working, you definitely use the word client, but a more standardized way of referring to your client is stakeholders. Okay, so the more standardized ways, stakeholders. You will often be talking to each other by referring to the word like the project manager may ask you, hey, did you update the stakeholders? Okay. Hey, did you communicate the change with the stakeholders? Hey, did you communicate the change in plan to the stakeholders? Hey, when is your meeting with stakeholders? How long the meeting will be with the stakeholders? Okay, so you will often, the more standardized way of referring to a client is through the word stakeholders. Within the stakeholder category, and we will see in upcoming classes when we go through stakeholder management, there are multiple categories of stakeholders, of which one is business stakeholder. So clients are your business stakeholders. Okay. So you will often hear people using these terms like stakeholders, business team, business stakeholder, or client being used interchangeably. Okay. So client, business stakeholder, or some people will even refer to them as business team. Okay, but the more standardized way to refer to them is business stakeholder or stakeholder. Okay, and that's what even you will be using. I have updated the stakeholders about the change that we are going to make. I have updated the stakeholder about our new members that are being added. Okay, the next is SME. SME stands for subject matter expert. Okay, so basically SME is a person who have an expertise in a particular area. Okay, for example, let's say you are handling customer care, you are doing customer care support work. Okay, so you are handling customer calls on daily basis, where customers call, raise complaints, and then you talk to them, you persuade them that I will take care of your problems, don't worry. Okay. So what happens is, eventually, by doing this day in day out, you become an expert in customer management. Okay, you become an expert in that area. So you will be, after some time, once you become an expert, you will be referred to as SME. Okay. So SME is, you keep doing some work over and over and over till you gain expertise that you know in and out of that subject. Suppose if you love mathematics and you keep doing mathematics day in day out, such that you become an expert in mathematics, and then you will be referred to as SME, or subject matter expert in mathematics. Okay, so that is SMEs. You will often find these experts whose guidance or whose consultations are used while working upon any projects. Okay. Next is consultants. Now, consultants or SMEs are often used interchangeably. So some people refer to them as SME, some people refer to them as consultants, but sometimes people have a fine line of difference as well. Like they may refer to someone as consultant who have been hired on a temporary basis. Okay. Now the next set of people, technical architects, development lead, test lead, they are more of internal people. Okay. Now technical architects are basically the people who have great amount of technical knowledge. Okay. They have great amount of technical knowledge, using which they can help you build your solutions. Now take an example of when you want to construct a house. Suppose you have a land, you bought a land, and you want to construct a house on that land. What happens is, you called in an architect. Okay, the architect will help you create a blueprint. Okay, so what that architect will do is, architect will help you create a blueprint, that okay, this is the land. Or architect will ask you also that what type of house are you looking for, how much open space should be there, should parking be available inside, outside, like that. They will ask you bunch of questions, and then they will give you a design. Okay, they will give you a design that, based on your requirements, based on our discussions, this design will fulfill your uh, requirements. Okay, now remember what the architect does in the while creating the design. Okay, but architect will not do the construction of the house. Architect will just create the design for the house, like how long the wall should be, where the wall should be present, where windows should be present, where the gate should be present, where the parking will take place. Like that, architect will just create the design looking at your requirements, looking at the available land. The same thing is being done by the technical architects in the IT industry. As a BA, you often interact with these technical architects to share the requirements of the client, that this is what my client wants. Based on the requirements of the client, they will create something called a solution document. This solution document, you can say, it is similar to the design that the regular architects prepare. Okay. Now, once the design is ready, what happens in real life when it comes to construction? You will hire a bunch of people, okay, who will look at the design and then start constructing your house based on design. That is where the development team comes into picture. So technical architect will create a solution document but will not write code. Okay. Development team will look at the solution document created by the technical architects and will write code. Okay, so development team can have multiple members and there will be one person leading that team. So that person who is leading that team is development lead. Similarly, the person who is leading the testing team is called test lead. So development lead and test lead. Under development lead, there could be multiple developers, and those developers are actually responsible for writing code. Under test lead, there will be different testers, and these testers are actually responsible for testing the application or the software. Okay, so remember these terms: technical architects, development lead, test lead, developers, testers. Okay, testers are also known as QA nowadays, quality analysts, rather than referring to them as testers. So these are the people that BA will often work with. So BA will spend most of their time with business stakeholders for talking to them, gathering requirements. Then BA will again take help from SMEs or consultants if there is any expertise needed. Okay, BA will interact with technical architects to create solution documents, and BA will work with development team and testing team to then and ensure that using the requirement document and solution document they are creating or they are making the appropriate changes and testing it. Okay, now any questions so far in this different category of people that we have? Because in tomorrow's class what we will do is we will look at these different people and then see how they are aligned in one team. Okay, who all are part of the team and then who all are providing support outside of the team. Okay? So we said first pre-project activities, then these commonly used terms, and then tomorrow we will look at two aspects. One is how do these different people work together. Okay, which people form part of one team, and the second aspect that we will be seeing is what are some of the skills required as business analysts. Okay, now with these points our basics should be covered. You must have an idea about what is a product based company, what is a service based company, how they get the work. Once they get the work, what are some of the commonly used terms, what skills are required as BA, and then how people work with each other, like which people are part of one team, which people are outside of the team. Okay? So once you understand all this, then we will jump on to on day 4. Tomorrow will be day 3 where we will discuss skills and team setup, and then on day 4 we will start discussing about SDLC, that is software development life cycle. And now how this entire team work with each other to actually create a software. Okay, so that entire working together and everything is governed by SDLC, that is software development life cycle. Okay, so once we understand SDLC, then we will take one step in SDLC and then explain it, like how to do stakeholder management, how to do requirement management, how to do requirement modeling or requirement prioritization. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, I'll take the silence as no questions. We'll move forward. Now the next term is change management, and this change management term is more appropriate for people in the management side, like the project managers, the scrum masters, who are responsible of setting up the appropriate processes, directions, guidance for the team. Okay, that what kind of process team has to follow while trying to build up a software, what kind of documentation will be done, how the documentation will be done, what are the necessary elements that must be covered in the documentation, what are my schedule of the project, when it will start, when it will end. So the entire management process. Okay? So change management is the process of managing changes in the SDLC. Talked about We didn't talk about the software development life cycle yet. We'll talk in the upcoming classes. But the entire process of managing these changes, which is done by the project managers or the scrum masters. Okay. Then the last term that we are going to discuss is defect, bug, or issue. Okay. Now, every product that is created, it will be created with certain expectations. Okay. We talked about washing machines. So the expectation from washing machine will be to wash clothes. What if what if washing machine is not functioning? What if it is it is washing clothes, but the clothes are still dirty even after washing? Okay. So that means the machine is not able to perform its intended task. Okay. Now in IT, whenever a software is not able to perform their intended task, we usually call it defect, bug, or there is some issue or problem over here. Okay. The more general term is defect. More commonly used term is defect. You will often hear people saying there is a defect in the process. Okay. Now let's take it from an example. Mm, okay. Suppose I want to build a system which can print voter ID cards. Okay, I have a database, I have list of people. From that, I want to identify for whom all I need to print the voter ID card. Okay. Now, in general, we have certain criteria for us to be registered or listed in the vote, or for us to have a voter ID card. Okay. So the one is age criteria. Age must be greater than equal to 18 years. Okay. Second is nationality criteria. Okay. I cannot allow anyone in the world to come and vote. So you must be an Indian citizen for you to vote. Okay. And the last one could be your address related criteria. Okay. That is, you must be you must have an Indian address, or the state in which you are going to vote, you must have permanent address in that particular state. Because at least as of now, I cannot have a permanent address, let's say in Telangana, and I cannot go and vote in Tamil Nadu. Okay? Or I cannot be a permanent resident of Karnataka but go and vote in Kerala. Okay? So wherever my permanent address is, I'm allowed to vote only in that particular region. Okay? Suppose this is the criteria that I have. If any person fulfills these three criteria, I will print a voter ID card for them. Okay? Now suppose I have a person who is 22 years old, okay, who is Indian citizen and who is residing in, let's say, Gujarat. Now, as per my requirement, for this person, I should print the voter ID card. Okay, but this is my expectation. Let me write it this way. This is the expectations, because this person fulfills the criteria that is used for voter ID card printing. Okay. All three criterias are fulfilled for this person. So the expectation is that print the voter ID card. Now what happens in reality? Voter ID card is not printed. Just a minute. Okay. Now what we said is expectations versus reality. So expectation was print the voter ID card, but whereas our software did not print the voter ID card, that means there's something that went wrong. Okay. And the something that went wrong is technically termed as defect or bug or issue. Okay. So I hope you're clear about this. So there will be an expectation, there will be reality. Okay. Now normally expectation, the testing team or the QA team, they mark it as expected result and actual result. Okay. If expected result and actual result are same, everything is fine. If expected result and actual result are different, then there is some problem, and that problem is known as defect, bug, or issue. So let me write that down. If expected result is not equal to actual result, then it leads to creation of defect. Okay. So whenever the two are not matching, that means we have some defect, some problem in our software, and someone will have to then investigate why this problem is. Whether it is some problem with data, some error in our software, whether it was just one time issue and it will not happen again, whatever be the root cause. Okay. So the development team will have to investigate, provide a root cause, why this issue occurred, why this defect occurred. If it requires any changes, make those changes, fix the defect so that there is no problem going forward. Okay. So that's the next thing that you will often be involved in. Okay. Often testing team will try to identify defects, and before confirming anything is a defect, testing team will reach out to BA that I was doing so and so testing. I was expecting the result that voter ID card should be printed. The actual result is voter ID card is not printed. So please confirm if this is defect or not. Okay. So as a business analyst, you will review the test case, you will review the data, and then you will review expected result, actual result, and confirm whether it is defect or not. Sometimes what testers do is they often do the oversight mistakes. Okay. Like suppose the age is 17 years. Okay. Now in this case, the voter ID card should not be printed, but the expected result they have is print the voter ID card. So in this case, it is not a defect. You have wrongly documented your expected result because age is less than 18 years. So voter ID card should not be printed. In this case, it is not a defect. It is wrong representation of expected result. Okay. So that is why people would often, like I said, before confirming anything is a defect or not, people would want to take opinion from business analyst, because business analyst will review the requirements, will review the data, and based on that give suggestion whether it is a defect or you have incorrectly documented outcomes. Okay, that will be the last term. Now tomorrow, in our tomorrow's class, we'll be spending time on understanding what key skills are needed for a business analyst. Okay, and the next thing will be on the team management. Okay, how different people that we talked about today, how these different people are structured into a team, and then how will each of them work with each other. Okay, so before we end our discussion for today, any questions? Okay, I'll take the silence as no questions. Thank you everyone for your time. We'll meet tomorrow 8 a.m. Thank you.